Hey everyone, thank you for listening to another episode of Spoiler Force Podcast. You can find all episodes on any podcasting platform like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and watch episodes on YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and make sure to follow Spoiler Force on all social media platforms at Spoiler Force Podcast.
This is Adam MacArthur, and you're listening to Spoiler Force Podcast.
All right, so this is episode 118 of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky, and thank you for tuning in. This week's guest is someone that I have been wanting to collaborate with for a long time now. Finally had the courage to just ask him on Instagram, and he's here. He is a podcaster, the host of the Lights, Thunder, Action podcast show. He also does voice acting and live acting, I believe, as well, and music. So let me just bring my guest here, Thomas Carter Rochester. Thank you so much for making time to do this, man.
Oh, thank you, Ricky, for having me on, man. I know that you've been following my first podcast since like week 3 or 4, like real early in our days when we started going live. I remember you popping in and commenting along the way, man. Really appreciate that. And you're doing great work over here on the Spoiler Force podcast as well.
Yeah, it's honestly, it was just throughout those Facebook groups, man, like all those podcast groups, like I forgot which group I found you guys on, but it's something about what you and your previous co-host David did. You guys really stood out, and honestly, I think it's just seeing that you guys also use StreamYard too. So like that caught my eye really quick, and I'm like, okay, so they use this program too. So I tuned into one of your guys' lives. I believe at that time you guys were talking about Mandalorian, maybe something else. But yeah, man, I've been following you guys since. I just appreciate your guys' work.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that. I know David will appreciate that when he hears this. He's got he's gone on to do other things right now. He's got his new podcast. It's doing fantastic. He's got some great guests on already, like the main box office guy in the world or whatever. I don't know. I don't follow the box office that aggressively. So he's like, yeah, it's this guy. I'm like, I've never heard of him. I should know him though. That's unfortunate for Thomas. But yeah, dude, I really appreciate you asking me on. Like, I'm always flattered when someone's like, hey, will you come on? I'm like, yeah, man, let's do this.
Yeah, I like having podcasters on because like there's already a common ground that we all have. We all know what it's like to find episodes or find topics to talk about, whether it's like nerd stuff or sci-fi or like just even anime and all that stuff. But yeah, man, like for the folks who don't know, man, like how did you start the Lights Thunder Action show? Like what motivated you guys, or at least you, to do this?
Yeah, I've always wanted to do I got to the point where I was like, man, I feel like I should do a podcast just to talk about the things that I enjoy the most. So I actually I hopped on a first podcast ever in like 2015. I did Thor's movie reviews, and I took up way too much time and than I was supposed to. But then fast forward 5 years later, and COVID had just started out, and David had just become school from home, aka do 5 things on Monday and be done for the rest of the week. So he's like, I have plenty of time to podcast. And I was like, cool, let's do this. Like, I want to start one. We'd already been talking since work. We went to the same college. I hired him. I was one of the people who helped hire him on at the gym that we worked at. And we started working together at 5 a.m. because we were the crazy kids who were like, that's the most free time in my schedule to make money. And we would 5 o'clock in the morning get to work and like get through our morning sleepiness for like 15 minutes and then be like, all right, so this Marvel movie. And then it just would go for about 3 hours every day at work. We decided to take that to a podcast, and that's what Lights, Thunder, Action is and was. And then we ended up going live during HWWS Web TV's CyberCon back in April of 2020. We started the podcast a couple of weeks before that. I was helping produce CyberCon, and we did live, and we're like, wow, we like this. We enjoy the commenting part. Like, it is a way to get, it's like you have extra producers, extra cooks in the kitchen, and if someone has a good idea, you can take it and just run with it. Or you can also not. We usually run with it, though. That's like I think why people enjoy Lights, Thunder, Action. And now we have John Ross Bradford, who is far more eloquent than me. He's got a good Tony Stark wit to him. And he brings in the same next level ideas, but he doesn't get lost in the weeds as fast as I do when it comes to the multiverse of topics you can go down.
You bring that up. I wanted to just mention this to you, man. Like one of the first things I noticed about you, and when you still had David on your podcast, was like the whole Thor. I know you do like Thor cosplay and stuff like that. And then when just like my first impressions, I was like, is that Thor with Henry Cavill? You know, like and so like that's what really caught my attention, was like you guys look like those people who could cosplay or like dress up as those characters. You know, and how did you? I guess for you, man, like how did you get into the whole Thor act? Was it just like for acting, or something that you always enjoyed?
No, actually, I've always loved creating. My dad, you know, technically I also do construction. I'm an engineer. I have a civil engineering degree. I've always enjoyed creating and doing math. So engineering was like the most logical option. And I went with my head and not my heart. So I ended up, dang, I already got off topic. Look at me. But I ended up in high school. We had this fun little like skating thing, and it was like, dress up as your favorite superhero. And I was like, I got long hair. I could pull a Thor cosplay off. Like, it'd be easy. And so it was like a t-shirt, some blue shorts, and it was like I spray painted circles on it. And I saw the picture. I made my own hammer out of like a giant microwave box. Like it was like anime style Mjolnir. Okay. and straight up, I saw a picture and I was like, that's terrible. I can do so much better. And it became a literal obsession to just do better every time. It's the Tony Stark method, as I call it. And I don't even remember. I've lost track of what Mark suit I'm on. But I've been doing this since I was like 17, and that would be in 2010. That was my first one. Then I made my second one a couple months later. And then the Thor movie came out, and I gave it a small tweak. And then the Avengers movie came out, and I was just like, I don't really know how to tweak that. And then Dark World came out, and they finally caught up to me with the gold and black attack of Thor's armor. And then it just, you know, when Ragnarok came out, I started really going into cosplaying as Thor and creating that character in 2015. I was doing improv in college already. Actually, at that point, I'd already gotten out of college. What am I saying? But I'd learned that I can do the voice really well. Anytime I put the costume on, like they always say in the films, like, you're just the character. It's like, oh, of course I'm the God of Thunder. Like, why wouldn't I be? You see how stiff I am? I can't even breathe inside of this armor. And so dove into that real deep, real fast, and just started making my own improv gimmick stuff. Did Thor's movie reviews. And so when Ragnarok came out, people were like, oh my God, you do a great Thor Ragnarok. And I'm like, technically Thor Ragnarok does a great version of me, but whatever. And and I just like let it work. And over time, I've created Thor, son of Dale, former protector of the Nine Realms, former king of Asgard, totally banished from his reality because it was exploded because I aimed for the head. And it just becomes a running gag, and it just is updating every new Marvel movie that like shines a light on Thor a little bit.
that is awesome. I like hearing the impression, like now that it's like in my ears. You do sound like Chris Hemsworth, man. Like you pull off, like it has like the kind of like how he has like that sarcasm a little bit in Endgame, where he's where he's fat Thor and doesn't really care. But then like I like it, man. You bring a lot of like humor to it, which I enjoy. You know, I was really more impressed when you were doing that. And then was it a convention in Florida? Like you guys were able to host a panel or something?
Yeah, our first ever panel that we ever hosted was at I don't know if it's the first or second biggest Comic-Con in Florida, but it's MegaCon. And it was my first time at MegaCon, and it was David's first ever comic book convention. And they, you know, we just kind of took our show on the road, as you say, and we had like 45 minutes, and we filled it like that. We were kind of worried, and we got just enough input from the audience. And then like right after, we got a couple others booked, and unfortunately David started teaching around that time, so he was like, I can't leave work on a Friday. I'm like, no worries. I've done a couple of them by myself, and we've actually been invited back by MegaCon, which is a huge mind blown situation on that because I'm like, yeah, we'd had fun. And they're like, we want you back. And I'm like, oh, apparently we did more than just have fun. Very excited about that. That's sometime in May. And I once we get out of this work contract that I'm in at construction, I'm gonna be on the road a lot more. I assure you, I'm very excited. Have you ever hosted a panel at a convention?
I've wanted to. I think I've recently moved to Texas about
Ooh, okay.
a little over a month ago. So I'm living with my cousin who's my roommate right now, and we went to our first, like, it was, I wouldn't say convention, but it was like its first like a fest, like an Asian festival type of deal. They had
Mm.
like cosplayers there, some more like on the anime side. So like there was like Lily Pichu there, Stella Chu, and some other high end actors there. Like some of the voice actors for like My Hero was there. It was a 1 day event, and we got press passes. So that was like my first time ever being like with the like doing something with the con like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, man, I've always wanted to host my own panels. I actually, not because you brought this up, like I guess this earlier this week actually I've been applying for like press passes or panels or even moderating.
Hell
So
yeah.
I'm hoping that that I get recognized to do something. But Texas is a huge state, man. There's tons of conventions here, big or small. It doesn't even matter for me, honestly. I
Yeah.
I, I intentionally just wanted to hit the small circuit, like hit like these
Mhm.
these new 2, 1, 2, 3 year old conventions. Nothing too big, but I don't know. We'll see, man. Like if things go well, man, I hope that I can do something like what you guys did, man. Because what you did with the MegaCon panel, man, like that's really inspiring for me, man. Like that's what made me kind of want to do, like, man, I need to hit up these conventions and not just be a fan there. I need to
Mhm.
put myself in these like spots where I can potentially network better and also do like what I want to do, which is like talk.
Yeah, man. Well, first off, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you that you've been applying to them. I will say I personally love the smaller ones more because it's a lot less pressure on me than going to like MegaCon, where I'm like, if we get more than 30 people, this could go great, or it could go so off the rails that everyone's gonna be like, why did we come to this? And with me, I always say that I toe the line of balance of the force just because I like to have fun. And sometimes things are hilarious, and other times, let's maybe not make jokes about the box office destroying, like falling apart because Morbius is going to make more money than it should. Like, let's not go there. But I'm so happy for you applying to them. Texas is a huge state, dude. What part of Texas are you in right now?
I'm in Grand Prairie, which is a little bit south of the Dallas Fort Worth area. So I'm a good like 20 to 25 minutes away from Dallas.
Okay, so you're
Yeah,
about 40 minutes away from Corsicana then.
I think so. I
Yeah.
still need to learn this area. Like all I really know in Texas is like just my route to work and back. I still haven't made time to explore.
Hey, that's fair. I only know that because I filmed a movie in Corsicana, Texas, in 2020, and I drove 13 hours there and back. I listened to 3 Star Wars books on the way there and back, which were amazing, by the way. I totally recommend audiobooks by Star Wars and Del Rey. It's great. And I ended up going to Dallas. As a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, it was my first time in or near. I mean, honestly, it was my first time in Texas, but it was the first time I'd ever been close enough to Dallas. So I went there and I went to a bar, and that was my Dallas experience. I went to a bar and I'm like, man, I wish it were football season.
What did you do at MegaCon exactly then? Did you just talk about the podcast, or you just kind of do things like how you normally did with your podcast? Because like what I
Mhm.
intentionally wanted to do for my panel was like a simple how to, like, basics, how to start a podcast 101 type shit. Like,
Yeah.
because a lot of people don't know how to just start one, and so I made a video a long time ago, just like starting with very simple equipment, like a little adapter, like you could literally record on your phone if you
Mhm.
want to, and just do like clip-on mics and stuff like that. But what did you and David do at MegaCon?
At MegaCon, so David was there for just the panel, but I work with the HWWS Web TV, so I was full on working the whole weekend for 4 days that I was there. The first day was helping get set up putting out flyers, talking to people dressed up as Thor, dressed up as a couple other characters that I'm now just blanking on at the time. And did a couple of live videos on the floor of MegaCon. We gave a tour of MegaCon. That's when we started really playing around with StreamYard and learning how easy it is to take StreamYard on the go with dialed in phones. And we've tried that a couple of times, but I digest. We we did our panel on Friday, and our panel was just us talking about the latest news. Me complaining that Venom is now coming out on my birthday, and that it wasn't the Batman, and really just kind of just doing our show and talking about the things we love most. And we only got that panel because the HWWS Web TV family that we've been a part of since week 3, I think, or week 2, episode 3 of our podcast is when we did the first live show on the CyberCon, and from there forward we just decided to go live every week, and we've been with them since then. And so they actually sent out panel options to they send them out to a lot of cons, and they're actually the ones pumping us because we help all of our live shows on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter are on the HWWS Web TV network, and it's on our personal Facebook page. That's Lights Thunder Action Show. So we got lucky that we have a team behind us literally just pushing us out there. And then when it comes to like what I do there, it's a lot of work. I only like to go to a couple of conventions where I try not to go to too many conventions where I work all the time, because then when I go to one as a fan and I try to enjoy myself, I feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I went to Pensacon and I was like fully intending to network and stuff. And then I just met a couple people and we became fast friends, and we hung out the whole weekend basically, and just didn't, do this big networking thing that I planned, but it was all I needed to do. Hosted a panel there about what we do in the shadows. Big fan of that. And really when it comes to trying to figure out what to do at panels, I suffer from that exact thing, because I'm like, should we do something crazy and different and new, or should we just do our show? And it's like, why change what's not broke? And I was like, because it'd be fun to be crazy, man. Like I've my friend Derek Diamond, who does 2 different the Derek Diamond Experience and Feature Presentation is his newest one. He ended his previous one to change up his gimmick a little bit going forward and hone in on his niche. He helped me kind of talking to me about getting into doing panels and stuff like that. He has interviewed Diamond Dallas Page at conventions, like been the host of that panel with Diamond Dallas Page, those two just sitting on a stage talking. So, I went to him and asked him a lot of questions, and he has a show that I love, and I've had one great idea, but it's just a spinoff of that show. And I just feel so bad. He's given me permission to use it, but I just feel bad doing it. And it's defending bad comic book movies, because he does defending bad comedies or defending bad movies, and different variations of that. And I mean, for our show specifically, like defending bad comic book movies, would I even be able to defend Morbius? Yeah, it ends. That's a good defense. I've not seen Morbius, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't plan to until I don't have to leave my house for it.
I have not seen it yet, but what's funny is on Twitter, I think, what was it, the director or someone on their team already like spoiled it.
Yeah,
on Twitter, they talked about the post-credit scene, and they're like, oh yeah, they can do this now. And so like, what's the point of having this movie? Like the only reason why people went to go watch Morbius is because of that. Like,
yeah.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, the trailers looked good. I thought the trailers looked good. I was convinced, and then when I saw how bad people were reviewing it, even though I try not to let people's reviews get to me, but then like just I don't know, man. I think it was just bad timing. I think with No Way Home excelling the way that it did, I think Morbius was trying to. I don't know if they were still trying to capture that same like effect of just like, oh, and we're gonna ride off that hype of No Way Home, or focus on just making all these anti-heroes.
Yeah. Honestly, it feels like a cash grab, and I question whether it's just a way to keep the rights. They're still making movies off of Spider-Man IP, thus they can still utilize the rights and keep the rights. And I honestly feel like that's the move right now. I also thought Morbius looked good. I thought the trailers were great. And then when he started spoiling stuff, I was like, oh, they're doing the Venom thing. Oh no. And I was like, this movie doesn't even look funny. And from what I've read from some people who have seen it today, someone went at 4 p.m. Eastern time today and just tweeted, it is the worst Marvel movie of all time. And I'm like, that's bad, man. Like, that's so not a good thing in 2022 when people like Martin Scorsese and all of these, you know, cinema directors who are trying to just pull a little bit of, they're out here talking against comic book movies, and it's because of movies like Morbius, in my opinion. And I've heard, and I think it's hilarious because of it being a vampire movie, but I've heard it's soulless, and at least Venom movies had a soul. You know, that's my take. And like, so far, everything I've heard is bad. And I've heard also that at least the Venom movies were fun. They're like, this is just bad drama. And I'm like, ooh.
I feel bad for Jared Leto, man, because I'm actually a big Jared Leto fan. I like his acting style. I like his music, but I don't know, man. Like just pulling off like these comic book characters. I mean, I give him a lot of respect for Joker. I don't blame him entirely for that whole fiasco of his Joker, but like with Morbius, man, like there was potential there. I don't know if it was Sony or if it was the other companies that was involved with it, but they had something there. And you know, like you said, it was just, you could tell it's a cash grab with these characters because it's Spider-Man villains.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if they somehow tied it in with Andrew Garfield and brought back the Amazing Spider-Man 3, you know, the Amazing Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six, like give me that movie, you have Kevin Feige produce it with you, just helping or being a creative consultant by all means. I mean, listen, those Sony leaks that came out had emails from Kevin Feige with notes on the movie of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And they're like, he's like, overall, I think you did great. You should lose these 3 things. It'll make the movie more succinct. It'll make it better. And I think Rhino's a little cheesy. And it's like, wow, everything he said is exactly what everybody's always kind of felt about this movie. Maybe they should listen to this Kevin Feige guy. What has he ever done?
I hope that they touch up on Amazing Spider-Man 3. I don't know about how you felt about part 2, but I actually was one of those few fans that actually liked Amazing Spider-Man 2. I didn't like that they were rushing a lot of these villains, though. I know that they were touching up on Sinister Six and teasing that, but I think they could have just left it, you know, with Electro and maybe tease Green Goblin a little bit. But I do hope that if Sony is aiming for Sinister Six, and with Venom in that same universe too, I hope that Andrew Garfield does come back as Spider-Man for one more movie, just because he needs a third part.
Yeah, for real. He needs to also get a dang Spider-Man trilogy. And I'm hoping that they are using, you know, Venom and Morbius, and now, spoiler force alert, Michael Keaton's Vulture. I blanked on his real name for a second. Vulture, like they're building this team. Yeah, man, we're building a team. So it's like, cool, all right, great. Like they're building the Sinister Six. About damn time. Now, make it good, please. That's all I am literally asking. Good. Not great, not spectacular, not amazing. Good. Because I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 is good. And I'm willing to look past the glaring, boring issues in the same way that I look past a lot of stuff from the prequel era of Star Wars. In this, because I love the IP and I love what they're doing. And I'm like, man, some of this lands so well. And then there's like 3 scenes that are just confusing and derailing of the entire plot. Like me.
I just hope that if they do Amazing Spider-Man 3, that they keep it in continuity. Like I don't want it to be like, oh, this is before, you know, they get teleported or something like that. I want it to be in continuity where Andrew Garfield's Peter is already over his issues after, you know, helping Tom Holland out, and then he comes back, and then run into Eddie Brock. I was disappointed with that. If anything, in No Way Home was that when they brought Eddie Brock in, I was hoping for him to have a cameo, like of a fight scene, or like just jump in or something. And he was just the post credit scene. So I was disappointed with that.
Yeah, same, but I do love that no matter what, Venom in the MCU will be voiced by Tom Hardy. I think that is, everyone's like, oh, Eddie Brock's gonna be like, it's gonna be Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock in the MCU, and it's like, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind a different version of Eddie Brock played by Tom Hardy, produced by Kevin Feige, because I think he genuinely, if he didn't play the neurotic version of Eddie and he played a totally different side, like the Eddie Brock we're used to, that would be totally awesome and very scary and totally different than his universe where he's the anti-hero. But I'm cool with Venom's voice, the Eddie Brock of it all, or the Tom Hardy of it all. I mean,
eyes, liver, spleen, so many delicacies, so little time.
Or my favorite version of that is
that guy.
I don't know how you can do that though. It sounds like you're like speaking from the back of your throat, so that's really cool to hear that. But with Tom Hardy being Venom though, man, like I do wish that they kind of make him more villainous if he ever crosses over with Andrew Garfield, because me and my friends talked about it. We were like, because he's anti-hero in his series, he doesn't really have like a real motive to be villainous unless he like gets pushed to the edge. And we were like theorizing like maybe Andrew Garfield Spider-Man can like whoop his ass or like misunderstand him for some reason, and then it just makes Eddie Brock like, I'm gonna kick this kid's ass now just because he's not letting up, like he's not getting where I'm coming from, and then they just go at it. Mm-hmm. So it's more of a rivalry versus like hero villain type of deal.
I like that. I like that a lot. It would be a lot of fun if they do have this rivalry, and I'm hoping it. I mean, I was just about to say I'm hoping it's not a buddy cop movie, and then I instantly realized that is exactly what this movie should be. Tom Hardy, Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man and Venom, buddy cop movie. You could make that like a Deadpool Spider-Man gimmick, and it would totally work. But in this case, because they're both a PG-13 franchises, it would be perfect because you don't have to worry about, well, how they cross over Spider-Man with Deadpool's rated R vibes, which I also think will happen someday.
I think so too.
I need that to happen. It's okay, Kevin Feige, hire me for that one, please. Yeah, wow. Buddy cop, Spider-Man and Venom. Son of a blue. That's good.
That'll be that's an interesting take. Just so that you can see them work together and like go at it, and then maybe like tease Deadpool at the end with Ryan Reynolds. Like I know with a lot of fans with the MCU, man, like they want to see if Disney could pull off a rated R Deadpool. I don't know why I'm just so interested in that. I just want to see how are they going to do it, because I know that they recently put up the Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage stuff on Disney Plus, and I don't think it was edited. I think they kept it as it is. So it's cool that Disney's allowing that, but I want to see how they're going to touch up on Deadpool, just because everyone wants to see Ryan Reynolds come back as that character. Yeah, I mean, he practically is that character anyway.
Oh, 100% he's the character. And I love that Deadpool 3 is now going to be directed by Sean Levy, or Levy, I don't know how to pronounce it, but by Sean and Maximum Effort Productions. And I cannot wait for the Marvel Studios logo to then become the Maximum Effort Studios logo. Like, that's going to be fantastic. And I think he's also named his marketing company Maximum Effort Marketing as well. Like, he's taken Maximum Effort and just made it his own thing, and it's fantastic. That's why everyone loves him. And I mean, fingers crossed, it's the Wolverine Deadpool, like in the MCU. Like, here they are in the MCU, but it's only for this movie. Just deal with it. It's okay. I'm cool with a one shot. I need it.
Man, like I would be so fine with that too. If Hugh Jackman just comes back for a cameo, I don't need him in a whole movie. I just want to see him on screen with Ryan Reynolds, with the right Deadpool. Just see them together one last time and do a good, like another good send off to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
It would be great if they just go back to that scene where he shoots old Deadpool and it's Wolverine, and we just see him turn around and go, "Who are you supposed to be?" "Oh, it's me, Wade, your best friend." They couldn't shut this one up, huh? And this goes and just middle claw straight through the head, and he goes, "Yeah, worth it." Like, that's it. That's all I need. Something simple like that would be gold.
I don't know if you've read have you read any of like the Deadpool versus series? Like, there's one with like Deadpool versus Old Man Logan, and it's like I think it's like a 3-issue series, 3 or 6. It's a mini series, but it's just funny to see them interact together, because when you see them talk to each other and go at it, you could literally picture Ryan Reynolds and like an older Hugh Jackman just arguing and fighting each other over something stupid.
Yeah. They kind of did that in Deadpool 2 with like Cable, right? Which is awesome. And that's why I think now in Deadpool 3, they'll, do it right. But with Hugh Jackman coming in, I think he only comes in because of Kevin Feige also.
Yeah.
And so like that, he's like, you know what? If I come back for one more go around, might as well be with Feige. Looking at you, Charles Xavier Patrick Stewart. So very, very excited for that. And Deadpool, dude, I have been begging for Deadpool kills the MCU.
Oh man.
That's all I want. I just want him to kill every single character in the MCU, all 170,000 or whatever. And like, sure, will it kill me a little bit to have Deadpool kill Thor? Yes. Will I laugh and not care? Also, yes.
The way how he kills those characters in that series, though, man, like I think one of the deaths that like really stood out to me was how he was able to beat Spider-Man, because he just constantly talked to him and distracted him from his spider sense. And then like with Luke Cage, how he used the Pym particles and he drank his coffee and it just pretty much blew him up from the inside out. So like I just, man, if Disney is willing to pull something like that off, I would love to see like a live action Deadpool kills the MCU or Marvel Universe, like just him going at it. Like we finally get to see Wade really loose and let go.
I would also wouldn't mind a Deadpool in the Multiverse of Madness whole entire little like sequence of, you know what, man? I'm looking at you, Ryan Reynolds, right here and now. Listen to me, man. Listen, I know you. By the way, Van Wilder, write this down. For the love of God, please do. Hey, Deadpool kills the MCU, man. Like, just do it for me. And while you're there, like, why not just like make a Deadpool in the Multiverse of Madness short film? And like every new Marvel movie, just make your own Deadpool short film. We will pay Disney Plus all of the money, and Disney Plus will pay you some of the money. I think it's a good trade.
I'm pretty sure you've seen like those like memes where they say like, instead of, now that Stan Lee has passed or has been gone for a while now, instead of having Stan Lee cameos, it's Deadpool cameos now.
Yes.
So I've always thought that was an interesting idea. So like, because before, man, we would always look for Stan Lee's cameos in these movies, but to throw Deadpool in these random shots, I think that'd be pretty funny too. Just him in the suit, like not even him walking around like a civilian. He's literally himself in the background or something.
Just like,
yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, that's when we know to look for the cameo, I love that theory as well. I've been a big proponent of that since I saw it as well, because why not? I mean, it's the only person that you could have come in and do these like legacy cameos and it matter, like Deadpool, because it's a part of the universe. He's a part of the universe. He's just there in the background. He's the Watcher, damn it.
Yeah. I hope that like if they don't do any of that live action, like at least give him a series though. Like I thought the What If series was done really well. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. I really liked the all like these these little twists here and there. Especially like one of my favorites was the zombie one, or like or not just that one, but the one where Ant-Man is the villain and he starts killing off the heroes.
Yeah,
that one was like, I was not expecting that to be the case, where it was Pym doing all of that.
That was a great twist on the comics as well, which I loved. Like when she's like, it's all about Hope, and I'm like, what does that even? I was like, oh, Hope Van Dyne, cool. Well, I don't know what that means, though. I don't know how it's all about hope. What does hope have to do with this? And then you go along the way, and it's an amazing murder mystery, and one of my favorite genres. But yeah, Pym turning out to be the killer because Hope died on a mission for S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's just like, wow, the grotesqueness, the way that they push the boundaries of what is comfortable to watch by blowing up the Hulk in the same way that you just talked about Luke Cage being blown up. Like, that is insane, and it was disgusting, and it was heartbreaking for Betty, for Black Widow, voiced by Lake Bell. Shout out Lake Bell, killing it on every front. And I really loved What If. I am a big proponent that it's not as bad as everyone says. People are like, it's mid, and I'm like, no, it's definitely above mid. It's a lot above mid. There are episodes that are mid, sure. And the one that everyone hates the most is ironically my favorite one. It's the Thor episode. It's the teenager doing what he shouldn't be, man. It's the John Hughes film with Thor, though, right? And then like he's got this younger, bigger sister and Captain Marvel, and it's like, I'm Captain Marvel, man. Oh, I know who you are. Thank you for teaching my son. And it's like, oh yeah, like of course Carol Danvers would look out for this petulant version of Thor, right? But that's my favorite episode, and I think the Zombeez episode stands out for a lot of reasons. For me, it's the Spider-Man of it all. Like that episode, that scene, is like, everyone have lost, and he names everybody. He's like, you're supposed to hope for them and smile for them. They're not here to smile, and that's what Aunt May says or said, and it's like, dude. And it's that hopeless optimism, that hopeful optimism in this point, it's like, you just got to do it. Like, it's the only way to live, because if you let it consume you, you're not coming back from it. Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. That's one thing I love about Spider-Man, dude. Like it's because he's so grounded when it comes to just being not just a hero, but just Peter Parker. The dude's a regular person like us. He goes to work every day. He's not rich. He's a big old nerd. Like he has tough times getting girls at times. But then when he's Spider-Man, he's himself too, though. He can really be who he wants to be and then save people and give people hope as a hero. But on the opposite side of that, though, like, because I've always compared Spider-Man to like Batman, where Batman's on the opposite side of that coin, where he's just so angry and so bitter at times. What was your thoughts on the recent one, man, on the recent Batman movie?
Oh my God. It is my number one Batman movie of all time. To me, it is exactly who Batman would be if he went through what he went through. Not knocking any other take on Batman ever, but live action Batman movies have always had him be like totally balanced. I mean, considering he's a guy who dresses as a bat and doesn't sleep ever, there's no way he's going to be sane. And, unless he's like absolutely mentally deranged and has a complete personality disorder. The way they portrayed Bale as being like, Bruce Wayne was the mask, right? They showed you that, but at least he changed up his attitude. And then, when he's not out in public, he's like, I don't really care, Alfred. Like, he's kind of the same way as Pattinson's. But man, this movie is a detective story, a murder mystery. It's only about Batman. Bruce Wayne is dead. He died at 10 years old. It's made very clear, and he only has a little bit of hope and rebirth right there at the end when he talks about losing someone he might care about with Alfred. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the Batman. The action in this movie, it's insane that you take action breaks in this movie, and then in that, oh yeah, we can have action in this movie. Like, yeah, we can have fun. Yeah, let's go. Okay. Oh yeah, back. Okay, cool. The spectacle's over. All right, what is El Rata Alada? Like, the whole way through, you're kind of like being drug along on that way, man. And I think it sticks the landing. To me, you go from Batman Begins to The Dark Knight Rises in 3 hours. Is how it feels. Like, from bitter whatever, I don't care, to I can be hopeful and I can have the town on my side and I can help the citizens of Gotham in the daylight. You get all that in one movie. And they've built a universe in one movie. In it, Spider-Man universe, Sony, this is how you do it. You do it with patience. You do it by not having to beat your fans over the head. You do it in subtleties. Please learn from this, because the Batman is gold, baby. The music, the way that the first act is based around Something in the Way by Nirvana, the fact that Bruce Wayne is also like this same exact age as me is pretty hype at the same time. And 2001 is when his parents died, right? Give or take. Like, it's been 20 years since the death of Thomas and Martha Wayne. They give the origin story in a news clip, and they give it before they even turn down the music of Something in the Way. That's how that song ends. You get almost the whole song. It's playing in there. The score from Michael Giacchino. I don't know how to say his last name. I'm going to be honest. Sorry, Michael. Sorry, Michael G. Michael G is on a tear right now, man. He just did Spider-Man No Way Home. He's done the Batman now. Thor Love and Thunder comes out in July. He's scoring that. And the way he's used the orchestra with a choir has me jonesing and freaking out, because I love that. Looking at you, Duel of the Fates, there's a reason why I love it. Those two things together. His usage of strings is another thing. And then he's going to be directing and scoring Werewolf by Night, which is supposed to come out Halloween of this year. It's a Halloween special on Disney Plus. And it's apparently just started filming. So he's on a tear. He's like on an elite level right now. And I think he's also doing the score of something else that just came out that I'm like, wait, what? And so that's like 5 scores of 5 amazing major projects. And, like coming out within a year of each other. It's insane, dude.
If you want to start your own podcast like Spoiler Force, then sign up with Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout has helped hundreds of thousands of users like me to begin their podcasting journey. With easy-to-use tools, you can effectively get your podcast onto different platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and more. You can view your stats, create audio clips, and even have your own podcasting website. Buzzsprout offers ideas, tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you improve your podcast. Follow the link below, and once you sign up, you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card. This will let Buzzsprout know that I sent you and will also support Spoiler Force Podcast. If you want a simpler way to record both video and audio for your podcast, then sign up with StreamYard. StreamYard is the perfect program to create podcasts, host live streams, and even do video calls. There are many tools that can help you create and design your own personal studio. You can screen share, read live comments, and stream to different destinations like Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can also download your video and audio once you're done with your recording session. Follow the link below, and once you sign up with the basic or pro plan, you'll earn a $10 credit to use for StreamYard. Happy podcasting. To be able to put in that much work for major movies like this, man, that is insane to even think about. Like I could barely try to keep, let alone this week of recording episodes, and this guy's making music for all these big movies, man. Like that, oh man, that kind of pressure is incredible. Like, just to see how everything turns out so well, man. And I think for Batman too, like the cinematographer? He's the same guy who did like for Mando and for I believe Dune too. Like there's like some wide shots that are like similar in that aspect.
Yeah, I think you're right. And on the Batman cinematographer, definitely from Dune. I'm trying to see that right now because I'm OCD and have to look up the information. Yeah, dude, I loved the way this movie was shot and the way that that car chase scene, the way they use the camera as like a third character in this entire thing. And it puts you in the car with Cobblepot from that. And I instantly was like, oh my God, that's like the exact same shot as the Joker in The Dark Knight. And that's where I first saw that shot in a chase scene and remember it. And then by the they go to the Batman stuff and it's just hanging off of that tire. It's crazy how they juxtapose those two things where it's like, I am everything, I am overbearing, I am the Batman. And then they're just like, dun, 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 and you're like freaking out, dude. Oh my God. It is insane. And you are correct. He is the cinematographer for Dune, as well as Vice, Zero Dark 30, and my number one Star Wars film of all time, Rogue One, a Star
Rogue
Wars
One.
story.
Okay, yeah. I knew it was one of the Star Wars.
And 3 episodes of The Mandalorian.
That's right.
He's everywhere.
No, I just like, you could just tell by how the movies, or like whatever, whether you're watching the show or like Dune or Batman, like there's a you can tell it's shot by that person, or I don't know, I forgot his name, but you can tell it's shot by him. Like
Greg
there's just Craig Fraser. Okay. Yeah. Like there's like, you could tell that that's done by him though, like just by the shots and how it looks. So I seeing that in theaters, it was really cool to just recognize that work. But no, I wanted to piggyback up on what you were saying about Batman, like how sometimes we forget that there could be action, because the movie itself, it literally could have just been all dialogue, and I still would have been invested into this movie.
Yeah. I've seen it twice, and the second time I did almost fall asleep after like an 11.5-hour day or something crazy. It was a really long, unfortunately painful day at work. And I fell asleep at the times when Michael Giacchino's score was so beautiful that it was just like, there was literal, the most amazing melodic things that you could ever do. It was the sad strings that you hear in the Batman theme. If you listen to that song, there's a sequence where it just gets really emotional and gut-wrenching. And I think that's the Bruce Wayne theme. And anytime they were playing Bruce Wayne's theme, it's so beautiful. I was like, oh, I could go to sleep to this. And I'm like, no, stop. He's about to cry. Like, this is important. This is the emotion of the movie. Don't fall asleep. Good. Like, it's so good that it could put me to sleep. And that movie, man, is it's going to hurt watching it on my TV as opposed to watching it in IMAX. But I think that HBO allows an IMAX ratio. So
I don't recall. I just know that I'm just waiting for it to drop on HBO, because like I haven't had time to watch it again in theaters. I've only seen it opening weekend, and since then I've been busy with like all this stuff and with work.
Yeah. Same.
No, but I want to you kind of just like transition this to you now, man. Like just because we're talking about like all these actors and just all these movies. You brought up earlier on this episode that you did some acting as well, but I didn't recognize your acting skills until like until the whole Unworthy Productions of the Power Ranger stuff, when they were doing like auditions for, or like they were letting people apply for auditions for those characters. And I saw that you were sharing those stories too on Instagram. So how did you get it? Like, what made you decide to get into acting? I know you talked about like improv and stuff like that, but like, was that kind of the gateway for you to get into acting?
Yeah, it was definitely the gateway. The long but short version is I did improv in college, and it was where I would relieve my stress, and it was where I would go to just feel better, decompress, not worry about work or schoolwork or presidency or this organization or that organization. Or the fact that I go from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day for 7 days a week, basically. It was 2 to 3 hours to just get out of my own head. And I found out that I was okay at it, putting it, I guess, slightly humbly. And I found that it was the exact same pop of my emotion and adrenaline that I got when I started playing football as a kid. It was I'm meant to do this for the rest of my life feeling. Like, I feel at home. Like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about those feelings because they're so resonant with me. Like I'm like, yes, I instantly remember that feeling, that smile, that instant gut wrenching. Holy crap. How am I going to do this for the rest of my life? What's the process? How do I learn this? I finished college, got my civil engineering degree. And when my grandmother died, that was the push to start thinking about what I actually wanted to do with my life, and not, in my heart versus in my head, which was engineering. It's the easy choice. It's the smart choice. It's the math choice. By the way, blah, blah, blah. And over 6 months, I had 3 other friends die. And so at the end of it, they're like, he was a rocket scientist. He could not wait to go start his job here at Northrop Grumman or something like that. And I was like, I literally never wanted to do engineering in my life. I just like math. And they took away the math. What am I supposed to do? That weekend was my first ever comic book convention. I met actors. I met actors that I didn't know I'd watched as a kid. I was like, you look familiar. He's like, yeah, I was the Time Force this Ranger. And I'm like, oh my God, I spoke to a Ranger. Holy crap, I'm alive now. Life is good. Oh, error. And then I always thought that acting was like professional wrestling. You had to be 6'5", 300 pounds of like stacked muscle. And I met some really jacked guys on TV who were 5'7" and really thin. And I'm like, oh no, it's just camera angles and being cut. Bet I can do that. So I started going down the entertainment aspect, podcasting things. Eventually I found acting and realized that is what I wanted to do. I had a friend give me a number to an old casting director, Eve Koch, Koch. I forget how to pronounce her name off the top of my head now. But I had a phone conversation with her and she's like, here are the 5 things you need to do. Here's your 5 bullet points. And it was, get a SAG represented agent, do student films to build resume credits and real credits, get professional headshots, do theater production, and something else. I don't remember what the 5th one was now. But I was able to in 5 years accomplish every single one of those. Through hard work, determination, and a lot of damn luck. But acting has been something that I forget I can make money on because I love it so much. And I'm at that point now where I'm transitioning a little bit away from doing the stuff just for the sake of it and the love of it and trying to hone in on the right ones as I try and break out of, the earliest part of a career, which is the first 10 years is, according to legend, is the 10, how long it takes to really get a grip on the business, in its full scope of what you're doing. You start out hungry, acting like, oh, I just want to work this. I want to be a comedian. I want to be funny. Oh, okay. I want to go take this dramatic role so I can show range and be diverse. And I'll do anything I got to do, like within reason and morality to get this role. If that means I got to do 30 auditions, fine, I'll do it. If it means I do 1 audition, great. If it means I have to be a PA on the job at the same time, by all means, whatever it is, I love this shit. So I never thought I'd be a director, never thought I'd be a writer. I'm like, oh, when I'm like 40 or 50 and I've had like a long-ish career, like over half my life messing around in the filmmaking industry. And I just focused on acting. I have been a director of a couple of short films, both of which, were made for film festivals or film competitions, One was a 48-hour film fest, and I did not act in that one. That was called Lotus. Very big fan of that film. That came out of like a spitball so I was like, you could write a story of, I was like, you can take a basic plot and I could pretty much write any story in any genre with it. And they're like, really? Could you? And I was like, yeah, you could make a movie on suicide and you could talk about the ramifications of suicide on both the person, the family, and the afterlife. And they were like, wow, you spitballed that. And I was like, yeah, you can make it dramatic this way, sci-fi this way. How would you make it a comedy? And I was like, it's a dark comedy and the dead person makes all the jokes. That's why it's the only reason it's funny. And they were like, I think that actually might work. And I was like, you can take a lot of ideas and morph it around. And that's when I realized that I don't think the same way everybody else. That must be the engineer in my head, being like, well, you can take A and you can extrapolate that to like 79. And how did we get from letters to numbers? Because we ran out of letters. So like, I've been I'm rambling now. I'm trying to get back on track. Acting, story. I've been blessed because I want to do television and film. You know, I love live action stuff, but I also love animation, and I have a gift of a lot of good mimicking impersonation of other characters, or creating my own voices, or morphing 3 to 4 voices into one voice. Um, and so I've been trying to go everywhere all at the same time. When it comes to voice acting, um, I've really been adding on to my reel lately, and I reached out to Unworthy Productions. Didn't land either of those gigs, but you know, that's the game. That's the name of the game. You audition, you put your best foot forward, and you hope for the best, and then you just forget that you did the audition usually, because you do so many that you can't keep 100% track of all of them. At least I can't in my head without aggressive compartmentalization. But yeah, man, acting and voice acting has been a passion, and it's a hard craft. And the best part about acting is allowing me to play around with all of these really deep, complex emotions that I have as a Cancer moon, in a very healthy way. Whether I'm being a giant jerk and I'm like the biggest a-hole on screen, or I'm the nicest person on screen. It allows me to just play around with those things. And 2020 was a milestone year for me. It was year 4 of being an actor, and I was in my first feature film. It was a Western filmed in Corsicana, Texas. And I met a lot of cool people, honestly, a lot of great people that are just amazing at their job and what they do, whether they're a camera operator, whether they are a, first time PA. Everyone was so much fun to work with. I got to meet, some actors that I knew their work, but didn't know them by name, which is bad on my part, I will admit. But Lou Temple from Walking Dead, he found out him and I are one day apart. I was October 1st, he's October 2nd. Also, like 60 years apart, or that's not true. I'm sorry. That's very disrespectful to him. Like 30 years apart. I think he is younger than my dad. Great guy. Met a lot of Major Dodge. You can see Major Dodge with his beautiful beard and doggy in Safe Light repair commercials. Like every time it pops on, I'm like, yo, it's my guy. It's my favorite commercial of all time. Robert Johnson was the writer of that. The executive producer played my wife in the film. I got to be a cowboy, man. It was amazing. And I followed that up with being a stoner in my next feature film role for Zombeez. I got to plug Zombeez because both films are in post-production. Zombeez is working on their CGI, which, in case you're wondering, it's a movie about zombie honeybees. So all the honeybees could not be zombified, so we have to, CGI them. Otherwise, we might have created like a new mutant variant of bees, and I don't think the world is ready for another form of killer sting bugs. But Zombeez the movie, if you go to Facebook and look that up, once they hit 1,000 likes on Facebook, they will drop the public version, or they will publicly drop the trailer for the movie. It premiered at Toronto Film Fest online last night or the night before, I believe, not that long ago, and got a lot of hype in the comments. People were like, is this even real? Like, is this real? And it's like, yeah, cool. Like people are coming in. It's I should know this off the top of my head. A small town coroner has to team up with her ex-fiance to save her town from a swarm of mutant honeybees. There's action, drama, humor, maybe even a flamethrower or two. And that's basically the synopsis that I've been reading for over a year to people on my show. Cannot wait for people to see this. The most praise, I will say selfishly, it was the most praise I've ever gotten on a film set in my life, which I loved as an actor. It's always nice to get instant feedback. It's why I love improv and having an audience, but it's also one of the most fun times I've ever had on a set. Because as the comedic relief, there wasn't a lot written for me. It was more of like, here are your jokes that we think are funny. Just do your thing. And I was like, I got you. I can do those things. So I would come in every day knowing my lines, but not knowing at all what the scene is going to look like, what the blocking is, what the setup is. I just come in, look at all my toys that I get to play with in the science lab, and then be like, all right, which ones am I not allowed to touch? And go from there. And I worked as a dumb magnifying glass into something that I was just trying to annoy people. And I'm going to be entirely honest. For most of the film, I was just trying to like really reach in and like suck in my cast members and then just try and make them laugh. And I did okay. I think I succeeded. I made people laugh. And more importantly, I laughed at everybody else's jokes, and the talent and the love that is on this film. You can see it on screen. Everything I've seen from this movie. I've seen some clips, kids. Whew, man, there's heart. There's maybe not be heart in Morbius, but there's heart in this movie, baby. Zombeez, the movie.
Definitely, for those of you who are listening, check that out. Hopefully by the time this episode drops, it will be if the trailer will be public for the viewers. But I man, I just want to say, dude, like Thomas, I can feel the passion that you have for your creative art, man. Like that is something that like I've always wanted to share on. That was one of the initial things I wanted to share on my podcast, man, was just to be able to fully express yourself through your creative arts or whatever you're doing, whether it's acting or podcasting or music or voice acting, man. Like I really feel that coming from you, and that's really, I really respect that, to see how passionate you are about just pursuing acting. And there's a lot of drive there, and it's very inspirational for me because I'm someone who thrives off of things like that. And yeah, man, like it's really cool to see how far you've come with your acting skills. Like I've spoke to some voice actors myself, and that do like anime shows or like TV shows and stuff like that. They say a lot of the same things like you just said, man. So just really hard work and perseverance. Yeah, there's a lot of talented folks out there, but sometimes they might not get the gigs, and you might get a gig that they auditioned for. So nothing but props to you, man. Like I respect that a lot.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's always nice to hear that people are inspired by anything that you do in life. It's one of my favorite things. I inspired one of my friends to do her dream, which was quit her job and become an energy healer. And now she's TikTok famous, man. She's more famous than I might ever be, because I don't understand TikTok. But she
I don't
like,
either.
and she's like, you inspired me to do this when you were like, I got my degree, screw it, I'll go be an actor. And I was like, I was just trying to like make myself happy with being alive still. To put it in that sounded way darker than I meant it. That was very Bruce Wayne of me. But I mean, like, I just wanted to put a smile on my own face by doing something weird and scary. And it just instantly became a passion. And it's led into realizing how much I love filmmaking. And I'm at a point where I'm gonna have to write a feature film of my own soon and get it produced and just get it done. Because I've heard that the only time you'll ever get a leading role is if you write it for yourself. So you got to do that first, and then people will see what you can do. So, hey, look out there in the future. But voice acting stuff, real quick, Ricky, the Power Rangers audio drama on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and in other places, I'm sure YouTube as well. It's put on by Scyther Productions, Scyther Audio Podcast, Audio Drama Productions. I should know that off the top of my head, but again, I do not. There's too many words in the English language to remember, kids. That show has been going on for a couple years, and I found it just by happenstance. And I started listening to it, and then I reached out to a friend of mine who's also a big Power Rangers fan, also an actor. We met on a project, and I'm like, dude, have you heard this? He's like, I'm actually cast in that. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm playing Rocky. And I was like, you're freaking Rocky? Like from MMPR? Like you're going to be Die Ranger? He's like, yeah. I was like, bro. And he's like, yeah, man, I just reached out to the guy. He's like, I just found him on Facebook. I listened to it, found him on Facebook, added him, and then like was like, hey man, I'd love to audition. And I'm like, oh, Okay, oh, that's awesome. So I did the same thing, and I got to do a couple of like alternative additional voices on that at different times. And if you can't tell, I absolutely love Power Rangers. It is the first fandom for me. It came out August of 1993. I wasn't even 2 years old, and I remember watching that. I don't remember it as much as October 20th, 1993, 19 days after I turned 2, when the Green Ranger premiered. I do remember that day. That was a very vivid day in my life. That's when I learned I was going to have long hair, and I was going to kick stuff for no reason. Just like Roadhouse. Oh my God. What a joke. But
I actually think of the Family Guys.
yeah.
Where he kicks Lucy from Charlie Brown.
Oh my God. Roadhouse. Yeah, man. But I reached out to them, and he's like, oh yeah, try this. I've auditioned for a couple of different roles, and I just haven't been quite right yet, but I got a feeling something good is coming there. Voice acting, if you've ever been wondering, ladies and gentlemen, it is the exact same work as live acting. There is a small difference when it comes to honing the craft, which is the specific things you need to work on consistently and regularly. For camera acting, eyes, eye movement, speaking with your eyes, and allowing your face to tell the story, recognizing what facial expressions feel like, etc. Whereas, you know, and obviously you have to work on your voice, your character voice, whether it's Thor, God of Thunder, you know, I don't know, like maybe I'll just be like Rocket Raccoon or something with like a little bit of an accent, throw it go, yeah, I'm Harry Carey now, I don't know what happened. You just wing it all together, and then but in voice acting, it's all about cadencing and breathing at the right point when you're talking, and it's same but different, and everything underneath, like the foundation all the way up to the water level, is all the same. It's that tip of the iceberg for voice acting and camera acting that I think are drastically different, and in my opinion they're almost two sides of the same coin, because you need a voice to be to be on camera or to be on stage, and you also have to know how to be either really big or really small with just your voice, whether you're on camera or on stage or in a mic, or, you know, just in front of a mic as a character. And it's a lot of little techniques and fun things like that. The nuances, the little details that are really fun to dive into and learn about and work on. And with voice acting, all I'm going to say is just, if you want to be a voice actor, kids, grab a mic, start making dumb voices. That's what I did, and people listened. So I just kept doing it. And if you have impressions, start with those. Start letting people hear those impressions. I started, you know, that Venom impression, man. I didn't know that I could do that until I heard a Smog. I don't know. I never saw that movie. But Benedict Cumberbatch is the voice of that dragon Smog. Smaug? Again, I don't know. I should know this. I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan, so I shouldn't know this. I'm going to get flayed for that by my best friends, but it's fine. Once I heard him do that, I was like, wait, is he really just doing the Hulk growl, but like talking through it? And I was like,
Can I do that? Whoa, I can. That's cool.
and it's like whispering, but instead of talking from the roof of your mouth,
You talk down here, baby.
and it's a lot of fun, and it is somehow become my let's play with a dog voice. So whenever I do that to like on a microphone, I'll hear in the other room the dog jingle and like drop to the ground like, oh, are we playing? And I'm like, oh no, how did that become a thing?
Have you ever considered like doing auditions or sending out auditions to the Funimation? Because I know here in Texas that like Funimation's here, and there's tons of voice actors here.
Yeah, I have. I consider everything, and then right now I'm in a I'm finding out that I'm not the only one that does this, where I'm like really creative for a while, and then I like recede back and work on myself, and you know, make my money that I got to do to get out of debt, because bills never stop. That's sad. But I blacked out because I said bills. Oh my god!
Oh my god!
But, yeah, I like panicked. I was like, "Oh god, tomorrow's the 1st." time of recording, of course. But yeah, man, I have thought about it. I want to reach out. I've heard that Funimation, they do like you coming in for certain things. And I'm just not sure. The thing for me is I here's a great thing. Here's a thing that everyone should know. I come off with this great confidence, but I suffer incredibly from imposter syndrome. So everything I do, I question, is it good enough? Is it good enough to meet my standards? Is it good enough to get the role? Is it good enough for its A, B, C, D, 97 all the way through, right? So I'm always questioning that. So I haven't reached out to Funimation because of that reason. So if you also suffer from this, know you're not alone, kids, at all, because I've been this way my whole life. I don't think of myself as anything other than like me. Acting, I didn't realize. I mean, growing up, I never thought I could be an actor or be in front of people. I was the quiet introvert who sat in the back, did the math, and just let everybody else talk for them because I wasn't allowed to talk that often. I was told to just go play by myself, and I did. So I became really good at that. And I became really good at making up stories in my head about random things in the universe that may or may not ever exist. That's always fun. But I utilize that as a way to dive into characters. And you should know that it takes a lot of hard work and working on yourself to be successful as anybody. And I will now have to, now that I'm pep talking myself, I'm gonna have to reach out to Funimation and send some stuff and send in my reel because, I mean, I've been watching some. So I just watched The Future Diary, and I'm watching the whole thing, and I'm like, I could do like 9 of these characters from my couch, man. Like, cool. Like, I can hit those ranges. Maybe I could be like an anime voice actor. And it wasn't until recently where I'm like, I could do anime. Every other time, I'm like, yeah, I could do like a Disney thing, or I could do a Marvel thing, or I could do like a whole new invention of like weird characters. Like, I could do comedy. And now I'm like, sure, I guess I could do anime. Bring it.
I mean, anime is hot right now, man. It's starting to be more mainstream now. It's definitely it's a couple of years behind comic books, but it's hitting that same stride to where the MCU got hot and everyone loves comic books for no reason now. It's the same thing with anime. You know, all the kids who got made fun of for it are now the cool ones because they know everything and read all the manga. But I wanted to touch up on what you said, man. I feel exactly the same way when it comes to this podcasting stuff, you know, with imposter syndrome or like just I was just relating to what you were saying, like just growing up being really I wasn't too introverted myself, but like, you know, I always just kept to myself and you know, just having thoughts in your head and kind of just like hold yourself back when it comes to wanting to pursue things. But you know, but not now that we are grown ass adults, we can do this without having like any, like we have no care with what people have to say, and that's why I like I said before, man, I respect your work for that because I can relate to it on a personal level, dude. But yeah, man, you know, Thomas, time is running out here. I would love to have you on a much longer episode as well, but in the future, if you ever want to come back on, dude, let's do something like this again. You know, for folks who want to follow you and follow Lights Under Action, man, how can they follow you?
Absolutely, Ricky. Thank you for having me on. It was an absolute pleasure. And I'm a huge fan of your work as well. You can find all of my links at linktree.com/TC Rochester Act. That's TCROCHESTERAC. And of course, the end is a T. That'll get you, you know, all of my socials. It'll get you the link right there for Toilet Paper Jesus to watch that. The Referral, another film I did right there in the link tree that you can watch. And for Lights Thunder Action, linktree.com/Lights Thunder Action will be where you can get all of those links to our Apple Podcast, Spotify, our YouTube, and all of our other links there, because we have our personal stuff and then our live show locations all there in that link tree. And then I also have another podcast because I'm insane and don't apparently like to not work. That's called Reckless Rebelling. You can find us on Twitter at Reckless Rebels. In case you're wondering, yep, it's only Star Wars, and my dad regrets, I guess, getting me as invested into Star Wars as he got me. because he's like, man, is that all you talk about? And I'm like, yeah, Dad, it kind of is all I talk about, if I'm gonna be honest. I'm a cool kid because I'm 30 and I still talk Star Wars. This is Casey Case I'm talking about. But Reckless Rebels, we talk Star Wars. We have a lot of fun. We just recorded our Star Wars music draft. It might be the greatest thing I've ever done in my life because I love Star Wars music so much. And just really appreciate anybody that follows along, and make sure that you follow Ricky because he'll be telling you when he's going to come on Lights, Thunder, Action or Reckless Rebellion, depending on which topic we want to dive into, because we got to have you on one of ours as well. We're just starting to figure out how we want to do our guests on Lights, Thunder, Action now that we've got a couple weeks under our belt as co-hosts together, and figuring out how we want to build from our foundation. So once we get that figured out, brother, we'll have you right on, and we're going to spoil the force out of everything.
Oh man, I would love to be on your guys' show, man. That'll be a great thing to do. And like I said, man, Thomas, I cannot say it enough, man. Thank you for your time, dude. Like this was something that something in me was like, I got to have you on my show, man. You know, having such a variety of guests on my podcast, man. I like coming back and going to my roots where I talk to people who did the same thing as I do. So, man, thank you so much.
Anytime, brother. Anytime. Thank you again. I appreciate your love, your hard work that you're doing here. And if nobody's giving you a round of applause, then I will, man. I will, man.
Thank you, man.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, you guys, this is episode 118 of Spoiler Force Podcast. Again, make sure to follow Thomas Carter Rochester on all his social media and Lights on Their Action Show on all the social media there. I'll have the links in the show notes and description so you guys can follow him. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to not just Spoiler Force Podcast again, but to Lights on Their Action Show on YouTube as well. And just like and share the videos. And thank you guys again, and have a great day. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give a review and rate Spoiler Force Podcast. If you want to get all Spoiler Force updates or even peeks at behind the scenes, you can join the Spoiler Force Discord community. And if you'd like to show support, give tips, recommendations, sponsorships, or any collaborations, you can email me at rickyvang92@gmail.com.